All right, welcome back to another Tool World podcast. I'm your host, David Jew, and I'm here with Master Jew.
Hello there, Mr. Jew.
Hello. You can call me David or something.
Hello there, David. Rank does have its privileges, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That's an interesting thought. Is it okay for higher ranks to call low ranks by their first name?
That is a good question. Is it okay? What are your thoughts?
Rank has its privileges,
Yeah.
So why? Why is it that way? Although when I talk to like older students, adults specifically, it's really difficult to do that with children, though. I think because with children, if you said, "Hello there, Mr. Smith," and the child would be like,
Yeah.
"Where's my dad?"
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So they don't know that. They only know, "Hey, Robbie," or "Hey, Johnny," or whatever, right? And so they can respond to that. So definitely, children doesn't really work too good.
Mm-hmm.
They, however, can do that with adults because they've kind of grow up. Well, I don't know if it's still like that anymore, but I think parents still making their children say, "Oh, this is Mr. Jones," or I don't know. Right?
Yeah, I think for the most part. I haven't heard anything different compared to that.
Right.
Yeah.
Not always, though, I think.
Yeah.
And then I think some children or some cultures misinterpret what is first name and last name.
Yeah.
Right? So, like, I think in the Asian country, usually it's the last name first, and then the first name.
Yeah.
And so when you write something, people might, they think, "Oh, it's Mr. Gordon." Really, it's Mr. Jew, but it's Mr. Gordon.
Yeah.
Right?
Well,
and I'm not sure if it's... And sometimes I call people by their first name because I can't see their last name.
Right.
"Oh, Mr. Federico."
Yeah.
That's what happens on that.
Okay. So if you're a younger student, maybe like a teenager, black belt, and you have like an adult there, who could be a color belt? How should they still address them?
Well, I think it should be more about respect, right? And so I think I have to draw the line at black belt for sure. So like a color belt, even though they're a teenager, is talking to a black belt, right? Call him Mr. Jew, as opposed to, "Hey, David," right? And that's difficult because some of them are friends.
Yeah.
And that's what they call them all the time. But in Taekwondo, just out of showing respect, and that's where, that's part of the art, etiquette, courtesy, right? And so when I have an adult, I always try to call him by Miss Song or Mr. Herman or Mr. Sewell, right? Is that. And then it's kind of interesting because I have friends that are black belts, and I always call them by that. I don't call them Mike.
Yeah.
And vice versa. They don't call me Gordon. They just call me Master Jew or Mr. Jew or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And that's just... But that's probably because it's ingrained. It's just this habit when you talk to somebody like that. So definitely adults, they definitely do that. I don't usually change it up a little bit. It's interesting though, because we do have like a kickboxing class, and that etiquette kind of falls to the wayside.
Yeah. Well, kickboxing, it's just working out, right?
This is working out.
Yeah.
"Hey, Shirley. Hey, Gordon." That kind of thing.
Yeah.
But if their child is in Taekwondo, I tend to call them by Mr. and Mrs. Because it's kind of that Taekwondo environment.
Right.
Right? But the first question you ask is it okay for, let's say, high ranks calling low ranks? I think, yeah, it is. It's, do I call black belts by their first name? Not too much.
Well, it's mostly because
except for
they're all
the
kids.
junior ones. Yeah, the kids.
They're all kids, yeah.
And you get in the habit of, you know a kid that's 5 years old and you've always called them Johnny. And now they're 18. I still call him Johnny.
Yeah.
Actually, there's one that I keep calling him Timmy.
Yeah.
He can change his name to Tim, but he responds to Tim. He knows that it's me, right?
Yeah.
But I don't call him by his last name too much.
Right.
Might change if I hadn't seen him in a while and he's in class, and you go, oh, Mr. So-and-so. And it's kind of weird. I think it's weird for them. It's weird for me as well. It's just a good example. I mean, you call me Master Jew in class. Outside of class is Dad.
Yeah.
You don't really call me Master Jew.
Right.
But it's a good example. I mean, if you called me Dad in the class, I mean, if people know that you're my son, you know, would they think twice about it? Oh, it's kind of casual.
Yeah. Well, I think
Probably
that
shouldn't do that though.
probably not. You know, I think like if you have like students that are all black belts that are around the same age, or like training partners, or I mean, if you're 14 and the person that's lower rank is 15, it's probably okay. You know, to call them, you know, because you're friends. You're in the same friend group. You go to the same high school. Kind of, you know, especially for like the younger kids, I think. But I think when you're like older, or you have like instructors. So we used to have some, you know, teenager instructors that you should still call them the Mr. and Mrs. just because the younger ranks see it. So if you call them like Johnny and they're an instructor, then all the lower ranks will call them Johnny, right? And then that kind of translates throughout the studio.
Yeah. I think that in general we should try to be more respectful. And one of the reasons is this. I remember when my first club, and they were probably, the average age was probably around 15, 16, 17 years old. And I was like 24. So I was relatively kind of like a kid anyway, teenager. We used to go hang out all the time.
Yeah.
And when we worked out, they would call me Gordon, and I would call them John, and blah, blah, blah. And I remember going to a color belt test, and we had to travel from Santa Rosa all the way down to Lompoc to visit Master Whaley because he was the one doing the examination. I was only a first degree. And I said to him, don't forget, when we're down there, you call me Mr. G, all right? Don't forget.
Yeah.
And don't forget to say sir. And they said, okay, no problem.
Yeah.
Guess what happened?
It didn't happen.
It didn't happen.
Yeah.
We go down there, and Master Wheatley goes, who's your instructor? Gordon. And I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh. And, you know, Master Wheatley's okay. Okay, yeah, okay, great. But, you know, later when I met with him, and he wasn't scolding me. He just says, oh, you know, out of respect, you should always try to get your students because there is a hierarchy. And that's the military kind of a system, right?
Right.
And it's all about respect. And instructors need the respect of their student, and vice versa. Students need the respect from their instructor. It's a two-way street.
Yeah.
But sometimes that respect, right, is that surface kind of a thing. You kind of need to get in the habit of doing that.
Yeah.
Say yes sir, no sir, yes ma'am, no sir, yes ma'am, no ma'am, whatever, right? Mr. So-and-so. So the more you do that, then it's not as difficult to do it.
Right.
And I understand, we're kids. I'm not we're kids, but I understand kids that, you know, it'd be hard. But I would definitely say, like, if there was a first dan, because we have first dans, and sometimes we have third degrees, right? They're relatively same age. You should still kind of try to do that, especially when you're in a Taekwondo environment, a bigger Taekwondo environment, maybe like a world championship or a IIC or something, because other instructors will see it and hear it as well, and so they kind of wonder, what do they teach there? Do they not teach respect?
Right. Yeah, that's true.
So yeah.
Well, better to overdress the part than underdress.
Right. It's like traveling on an airplane. Do I dress up, or do I just wear some sweats?
Well, not sweats, no. Any other thoughts on
respect? Well, David, no.
All right. Well, thanks for jumping into another Tool World podcast. Let us know your thoughts. What do you guys do at your studio? All right, but
And by the way, if you think I should call him David more, give us a like and put that comment that says, yes, sir, call him David.
I think you normally call me David.
On the podcast?
Yeah. Well, I always say my name is David. I used to say Mr. Drew, but I was like, I'll just say David.
I say, how's it going, Mr. Jew?
Well, I don't know. I call myself David, so.
Well, I think when you talk about yourself, it's okay. I don't say I'm Master Jew.
Well, sometimes you do.
Well, sometimes, well, that's rare.
Yeah.
Actually, that's kind of rare.
Uh-huh. I think, I don't know. I think maybe it happens a little more than you think.
Who do I say it to, though?
I don't know.
It's usually is people that are confused. Specifically, it's happened a little bit more because when we're at the studio, they go, "Oh, are you Master Jew? Are you Mr. Jew? Which one is it?"
Mm-hmm.
So they're thinking who is who, like between the two of us, right?
Right.
Because we're both Mr. Jew.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think maybe in those contexts I do, but in general, I don't introduce myself as Master Jew. I just say Gordon Jew.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well.
He's going to argue with me. Well, all right, comment on that. Do I say that a lot as well?
But don't forget to be safe.
Keep training.
I'll see you guys next time.
Taekwon.